There's been a lot of talk about the 1994 crime bill, and I believe that people need to know exactly what was in that bill, and I'm going to provide links to all of the people that voted on the bill, but I'm going to address a certain segment of it later in the video. This particular bill did a bunch of different things, and not all of them had to do with crime per se. The first thing it did was it created a federal assault weapons ban that basically barred the manufacture of 19 specific semi-automatic firearms classified as assault weapons, as well as any semi-automatic rifle, pistol, or shotgun capable of accepting a detachable magazine that had 2 or more features considered characteristic of such weapons. Those features included telescoping or folding stocks, pistol grips, flash suppressors, grenade launchers, and bayonet lugs. The law also banned possession of newly manufactured magazines holding more than 10 rounds of ammunition. The law took effect September 13, 1994, and was sunsetted on September 13, 2004. Since the expiration date, or the sunset date, Congress has not been able to reinstate the assault weapons ban. The next thing it did was called the Federal Death Penalty Act, where it increased the number of penalties that were subject to the death penalty by approximately 60. And basically it covered crimes related to terrorism, murder of a federal law enforcement officer, civil rights related murders, drive-by shootings resulting in death, the use of weapons of mass destruction resulting in death, and carjackings resulting in death. Okay, there were some issues as far as the First Amendment was concerned, but in 1996 they passed an Anti-Terrorism and Effective Death Penalty Act, which effectively bypassed quite a few First Amendment rights. The next thing that it did was it eliminated inmate education. Okay, this particular provision no longer permitted prison inmates to receive Pell Grants for higher education while they were incarcerated. I don't have to tell you that people going into prison that have less than adequate education and decide to try to improve themselves needed Pell Grant money in order to further their education, especially trying to obtain a college degree. Well, this particular section killed that. So you got people going into prison and coming out of prison no better off educationally at all. And that obviously was going to work towards increasing the recidivism rate for people that were convicted of crimes. This had the effect of really working against lower income prison inmates. And you know, what else do you need to say about that? Also within the act was the Violence Against Women's Act, which allocated approximately $1.6 billion to help prevent and investigate violence against women. It created the Safe Streets Act, which required mandatory restitution for medical and legal costs of sex crimes. It increased federal grants for battered women's shelters. It established a national domestic violence hotline. And required restraining orders of one state to be enforced by other states. It also added a rape shield law to the federal rules of evidence. Little known is that there was a driver's protection portion of this bill, which stopped states from using public driver license databases to track down and harass abortion providers and patients. In the bill was also the Community-Oriented Policing Services, which provided $14 billion in assistance to state and local law enforcement to help hire 100,000 more police officers to patrol the nation's streets. Yeah, that worked out real well. Other provisions in the bill included the 3 strikes you're out provision, which obviously most people are aware of. It required the United States Department of Justice to issue an annual report on the use of excessive force by law enforcement officers. But guess what? No reports have ever been issued. It further made drug testing mandatory for those serving on federally supervised work release programs. So that's pretty much what that bill did. Now, as far as the money for that bill, you had approximately $6.1 billion that went to prisons, i.e. it went to opening up new prisons, which I believe that number was 50, but it also went to help finance private prisons. Now, I've been looking for a breakdown on exactly what money went there, and it's difficult to find, but I'm going to err on the side that a bunch of that money, if not the majority of that money, went to went to help build the private prison complex. Now, let's talk about who voted for the damn bill. There were 285 yes votes in the House of Representatives and 141 no votes. Of the yes votes, 190 were Democrats and 57 were Republicans and 38 were others, whatever that means. Okay, of the no votes, 92 were Republicans, 29 were Democrats, and 20 were other affiliations, independents, etc. In the Senate, there were 61 yes votes, 38 no votes, and one, I guess, abstention or not voting. Of that number, 54 Democrats voted for the bill, along with 7 Republicans, and there were 2 Democrats that voted against the bill, along with 36 Republicans, and one of the Republicans was an extension. Now, as I stated, I'm going to provide a link for the direct votes for anybody that's interested in seeing exactly who did what. But again, what I want to do is basically focus on what the bill did, which was it expanded the death penalty to cover more than 50 federal crimes. It added money for 100,000 police officers. It implemented life in prison for 3-time felons, 3 strikes law with life, and more money for prisons. It cut preventative programs, which was the GOP insisted on those in order to vote yes on the bill. It included, as I said earlier, a ban on sale and possession of 19 types of assault weapons. And basically, the bill was a disaster for the black community. There were 36 members, approximately, of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I think it's important for us to state who voted yes on the bill and who voted no on the bill as far as the Black Caucus was concerned. The yes votes were Stanley Bishop, a Democrat out of Georgia, Lucien Blackwell, a Democrat out of Pennsylvania, Jim Clyburn, a Democrat out of South Carolina, Curtis Collins, a Democrat out of Illinois, Corrine Brown, a Democrat out of Florida, Harold Ford Sr., a Democrat out of Tennessee, Bill Jefferson, a Democrat out of Louisiana, Eva Clayton, a Democrat out of North Carolina, Eddie Bernice Johnson, a Democrat out of Texas, Cynthia McKinney, a Democrat out of Georgia, Kweisi Mfume, a Democrat, Mfume, a Democrat out of Maryland, and he backpedaled on his involvement in that bill left and right. Carrie Meek, a Democrat out of Florida, Alan Wheat, a Democrat out of Missouri, Ed Towns, a Democrat out of New York, Bessie Thompson, a Democrat out of Mississippi, Floyd Flake, a Democrat out of New York, Major Owens, a Democrat out of New York, Barbara Rolls Collins, a Democrat out of Michigan, Julian Dixon, a Democrat out of California, Alcee Hastings, a Democrat out of Florida, Albert Wynn, a Democrat out of Maryland, and Bobby Rush, a Democrat out of Illinois. Now, as far as the, and there was one, actually there were two people who didn't vote, Craig Washington, a Democrat out of Texas, and Walter Tucker, a Democrat out of California. Now, these are the people that voted for the bill. William Clay Sr., a Democrat out of Missouri, John Conyers, a Democrat out of Michigan, Charlie Rangel, a Democrat out of New York, Bobby Scott, a Democrat out of Virginia, Louis Stokes, a Democrat out of Ohio, John Lewis, a Democrat out of Georgia, Earl Hillard, a Democrat out of Alabama, Mel Watt, a Democrat out of North Carolina, Don Payne Sr., a Democrat out of New Jersey, Cleo Fields, a Democrat out of Louisiana, Maxine Waters, a Democrat out of California, and Ron Dellums, a Democrat out of California. All right. The Democrats were absolutely guilty with a little help from the Republicans, okay, that basically passed the crime bill, which overall cost about $30.2 billion. Okay, and obviously Bill Clinton signed it. Again, the final passage in the House was 235 to 195, with 46 Republicans joining the 188 Democrats and one independent to vote yes. That independent, as you probably know, was Bernie Sanders. Bill Clinton basically hailed the bill as a huge success, and it was the cooperation of Republicans and Democrats together. So there's a lot of blame to go around on who passed the bill, whether it was Republican or Democrat, and also what was in the bill. Okay, now I will say this, the Republicans pushed the portion of the bill that stripped away education for inmates. And the Republicans said that they wouldn't vote for the bill unless that money was pulled out. So you have our Republican friends to thank for inmates not having an opportunity to better themselves while they were being incarcerated, to potentially try to make themselves better citizens upon release from prison. Now, why was this particular bill so harsh? It was so harsh because the Democrats were running scared that they, for the most part, were going to be considered soft on crime. And yes, there was an epidemic of crime during that period of time. And the Republicans had always been the quote-unquote law and order party. So the Democrats, in an act of self-defense, put this crap through in order to take that particular attribute away from the the Republican Party. But they knew when they passed this damn bill exactly what was going to happen. Okay, they knew that when they took the money, they took money out of preventative programs, that was going to hurt primarily people of a low income, which, let's just call it the way it is. We're talking about minorities. Now, a lot of people jumped up and down and claimed that they knew that the bill wasn't perfect. Well, I will submit that that bill not only wasn't perfect, it basically was targeting people. And it was targeting people who had the least ability to fight against the system that they were in. So, all right, I'm going, like I said, I normally don't do these, but this one I felt was important enough that I needed to take the time to do it. I am going to put the links in for the actual vote so that you can see for yourself who voted for what.